guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm so happy because I get to finally shoot a sit-down video where I get to talk about my story and everything that I've been wanting to share, which was the main reason why I even started I decided to come back to YouTube. I've just been posting a lot of vlogs because I've been procrastinating kind of shooting these sit downs, but you know what, I'm not gonna procrastinate anymore. When you like give yourself excuses like, okay, I'm gonna start when I get a tripod, I'm gonna start when I get a ring light, I'm gonna start when I do A, B and C, and today I was just like, you know what, no more. But without making this intro too long, today, as you can see by the title of this video, I'm gonna be talking all things being a young makoti and a young mom. I did pose a question on Instagram for people to open it up to people to ask me what they want to know, the questions that they have for me as a young makoti, as a young mom, and I'm going to be answering those today while I am sipping on some cranberry juice. Hopefully this is as interesting as I can imagine it in my head. But yeah, also I will be looking that way to read the questions on my MacBook, so if I don't make eye contact, just know I'm reading the question, right? Let's get into it. Okay, the first question that I'm going to answer is, have you always seen yourself as a young makoti? And the answer in simple terms, as a young mom and makoti. So I'm going to answer it separately as a mom and as a makoti. As a mom, the answer is a definite yes. I've always just wanted to be a young mom. I've always wanted to have a child while I'm in my early 20s. I did have a couple of reasons which I will share with you, but also I want to answer as a makoti. It's not something that I thought about. It wasn't like getting married was never I didn't think about it. I didn't have a time frame for it. I didn't really think about it like that. But as a child, let me explain. Having a child young was always something that I wanted. I think I've always shared this with my friends to say I want to have a child young, that I don't want to be having kids after 30. I don't want to be having kids after 30 because I imagine myself after 30 is when I'm well established, I'm financially stable, my business is running, and I am making money, and my partner is making a lot of money. Well, we are making money right now, but I'm imagining after 30 we'd almost have things would be more stable, money will be just overflowing. And at that point in my life, I imagine myself just chopping life. I imagine myself just traveling with my kids, chopping life, living it up. I don't imagine myself having a 1 month old or a 1 year old and having to do all that stuff that I'm doing right now. That's not what I want. That's not what I imagined. So yeah, basically I wanted to have kids young, and also I fancied, or I idolized the thought of having a baby girl as a firstborn and having her young, so that at some point when she's older we can relate. So, and obviously we can only relate if I don't know, I think you get the picture. So if I have her young, at some point we're gonna start relating and doing things together. I just had that image in my head. I know it's not easy in the beginning, but that was the goal. That's what I wanted. But I think my main reason was that I didn't want to have kids after 30. I just wanted to chop life. And then my reasons were, you know what, when you have a child young, your body bounces back quicker. Your body, that was the main reason. One thing about me, I do care about how my body looks. I do care about all that stuff, because at the end of the day, it contributes to my confidence, it contributes to how I see myself. And I thought about those things to say, if I have a child young, the chances of me bouncing back into my body and being still looking nice and decent, it's much easier when you have a child when you're young. That was the one of the reasons. So I hope that answers that question. Question number 2. Has it always been a goal to marry young, and how has it been? Okay, this one is similar to the first one. Has it always been a goal? No, it hasn't. It hasn't always been a goal to marry young. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't really think of like getting married and all that stuff. But when it did come, I was very open to the idea, and for me, it was like whether it happens now or later, it really didn't matter personally for me. Remember, I want to say this. These are my opinions and this is my experience. I am in no way advising anyone to do things in any way, you know. So I'm just speaking for me and my experiences. Someone said, how did your parents react to both your engagement and pregnancy? How did my parents react to both my engagement and my pregnancy? Well, with regards to my pregnancy, I was a little sneaky about it. Or well, let me not say sneaky, but I didn't tell my parents until maybe I was 3 months, I think. I'd like to believe, I'm not sure. But how I broke it down to my mom is that I sent her a text message, a WhatsApp message, to say that, oh, mommy, I am pregnant, with like dancing emojis and all happy and excited. Oh, I'm pregnant. So when you read that, child, you have no choice but to be happy, because I am happy, you know. Like, that's how I thought about it. I'm going to send this message and I'm gonna like send it with dancing happy emojis. I'm sure my mom was like so confused, like, what the hell? But one thing about my parents, they are not, how can I put this? They are not, I don't want to say they are not strict, but at the same time, I don't have words for this. So okay, how did my mom react? She literally just said, because at the time when I did fall pregnant, I was doing my last year of university, and she said, you know what, for as long as you promise me that you're going to finish school, then I am okay with everything. That's how my mom reacted. My dad, I think, I don't know if he was happy. My dad is the type of person, he's happy if I'm happy. That's why I'm saying my parents are quite unique, because how I was raised is that my parents gave me all the trust. They made me feel like they trust me so much, to the point where they trust me to make the best decisions for myself. So in everything that I do, they'll always say, no, we trust that you'll make the best decision for yourself. And that, for me, I find it really did help me, because every single time I was to do something, or I'm thinking of something, I don't want to disappoint them, because they have given me this like so much trust that I don't want to disappoint them. So it's always been like that with my parents. So it was like, okay, if you feel like this is the right decision for you, we're going to support you, you know, for as long as you feel like this is what you want and if you're happy. So they asked me to be honest, like, are you happy about this? Is this what you want? If you're not, let us know so we can handle it the right way. If you are, let us know so we can handle it accordingly. So obviously I did let them know that I'm happy and this is what I want, but also like I'm still scared, you know. I'm still young. I know I've never been a mom ever. So, but like I did tell them I'm happy, and when they get the revelation that I'm happy, then they instill that supportive parent thing. So that's how it went. Okay, the question further says, how did they react to the engagement? Child, I didn't even know I was getting engaged. Let me tell you the story. I didn't know that I was getting engaged, and I don't know if we should call it engaged, because it was more like the traditional thing. So because I got a child outside of wedlock, you know, traditionally or culturally, we have to go through the process of I don't know how to call it in other languages, but I don't want to call it in English because I don't like the term. I don't like what they call it in English, so I'm not going to call it. But in my culture, it's so that process, they were coming to pay for the child. I don't want to say that word, but how do I say it in English? So it's like basically a process where the family of the guy and my family, or they come to my house to kind of ask for forgiveness for their son impregnating their daughter. Impregnating my parents' child, which is me, outside of wedlock. So that's the process. So how the process went is that initially we went to his house, my family and my grandparents, they went to his house and they said, hey, there's an issue here. Apparently a son in this house has done A, B, and C. And it was a whole thing where they had to call him to say, do you accept? Are you agreeing to this? Do you know this? Are you the dad? That type of thing. And obviously, like, it went well. He accepted, he's the dad. But yeah, that's what happened. And then after, the next step was then for them to come to my house. I think a month later or 3 months later, I can't remember. They then come to my house and pay for the harm they have caused the family, basically. That's how they say it. So within that process of them coming to my house to say, listen, we are sorry for what had happened and here's some compensation to say we're sorry, that's what I thought that event was about. Only to find that same day, his family was like, you know what, over and above what we're here for, we also want to kind of start with the lobola negotiation process. And they negotiate and they deliberate and they pay some of the money. And when we're done, and they call me to say, okay, we are done, and then the guests leave. When the guests leave, then my parents are then like, oh, by the way, this and this happened, so technically you are like lobolad, or the process is started. And I'm just like, guys, how do you do that? How does this happen without anyone consulting me? So it's definitely, I would define it as an arranged marriage, because who do they consult? I think for me it was just a blessing, because I really did want to get married. I love my partner so much, so it wasn't too much of a big deal. But imagine if I was not planning on getting married to this person. But I think what made them feel more comfortable is the fact that we have been talking about it with his parents, his family, that, yeah, we are planning on doing this and this and this and this. So they kind of had an idea of where we are and what we want to do. And obviously, with all this being said, you kind of have an idea of how my partner is not romantic. But I made it clear to him that, listen, if you want this thing to be official, you need to get down on one knee, child, if you want to marry me. So we're yet to see that happen. Okay, the next question is, what do you bring to the table as a young makoti? I like this question, but at the same time I don't like it, because it just suggests that you think I don't bring anything to the table. But let me not jump into conclusions, right? What do I bring as a young makoti? I can boldly speak about this because I am a young makoti, but I also am a mother. So as a mother, as a young makoti and a mother, child, I have been through so much. If you haven't heard, go watch my first video where I talk about my birth experience. Just that experience alone, like bringing life into this world, is something that you as a guy cannot do, even if you wanted to. So that alone is like, should be everything. I brought life into this world, and this child now calls your surname. This child is yours, and I had to go through everything that is unpleasant for this person to be here, just for you to enjoy them being here. So I bring a lot, child. And obviously, once this person once this child is born, you as a mother play a role of being a nurturer through and through and through until kingdom come. They are your responsibility until you die, basically. So, and obviously as women, we are natural nurturers. So not only do I nurture the child, but I also nurture my partner. There's just so much for me. I just feel like being a woman on its own is the table, because I've been through so much for me to be boldly say this. Like, being a woman on its own is the table. So moving right along. Okay, is communication hard in a long distance relationship? So I'm assuming this person who asked me knows me personally, because then you would know that my relationship has been and always has been a long distance relationship, except now things are much better. But we've at the time when I fell pregnant, my partner was all the way in Cape Town and I was in Joburg, so it was just a tad bit of tough, but we made it work because I was flying through every second week, child. Like, I was in Cape Town most of the time, so it really was easy. But what I can say is, what made it easier is that we really worked on our communication. Like, it skyrocketed. We communicated like as if we don't have lives, because that's the only thing that we relied on, really. And also transparency. There was so much transparency within that relationship, to the point where the people around me were like, child, how do you tell your partner this? Like, how are you this honest? Like, some things you should just keep to yourself. But we felt it was necessary to communicate the good and the bad, even the things that you feel can potentially ruin the relationship. But if you are able to communicate that still, it really just gives you peace of mind and assurance. So yeah, so basically that's how we got through that, through communication, transparency, and the fact that I was flying in and out of Cape Town to see him. So I wasn't really like seeing him after 3 months or 4 months. It was quite frequent. Okay, do you wear pants to your in-laws? So one thing I really love about my in-laws is that there was a time when I was fairly new into the family, and my partner's mom sat me down and she was like, listen, we can see the type of person that you are. We are not like, they didn't raise their daughters the way I was raised, and their daughters are very much different to who I am, and at the time I was still pursuing like things like modeling and stuff like that. So they kind of had an idea of the type of person that I am. But they sat me down and said, listen, we know the type of person that you are, and we want you to understand that we accept you exactly as you are. We don't want you to feel like you need to change, or you need to like conform to our standards, or whatever the case. As you are is how we will accept you. And for me, I will forever remember those words, to say these people accepted me just as I am, and they didn't require me to change myself. So to answer this question, I wear whatever makes me feel comfortable. So if I feel comfortable wearing jeans, around my in-laws, then I will do exactly that. Obviously, sometimes you'll be a bit more reserved to how you would naturally act when you're at home, where when I'm at home, I don't mind just wearing my short pajamas and be okay with being around both my parents there and just walking around. But like, something in me is just like, I really can't be that free around them. I mean that's just me. I would rather just wear like longish pajamas as compared to the ones that I would wear at home. But that would be my personal choice, not because they had set those rules for me, yeah. And then the next question is what would you advise someone who wants to be a young mom or a young makoti, or who has found themselves in that situation? So my advice would be basically that before you make the decision of being a young mom, of being a young makoti, make sure that you have ample support. You make sure that you have gang support, because being a young mom is not easy, especially if you haven't really figured out yourself, especially if your career hasn't taken off, especially if there's no stability. So it's not easy. You need that support from your parents, from your in-laws, from your partner. You need support. If you do not have that support, don't even think about it, because it's going to be very, very tough. the other thing is, I wouldn't advise anyone to be a young mom if they really haven't figured out who they are personally. If you feel like you are not satisfied and you haven't figured out who you are, do not attempt being a young mom, because once you bring life into this world, it is all about that child. It is never about you. It is always going to be about that child. Like, it's almost like you forget that you exist because you live for this person. So even the slightest chance that you would have had to kind of find yourself and know yourself and work on yourself and become a better person, you don't have that time anymore. You don't have that chance anymore, because now your life is all about the young one, especially when they're still very, very young. I wasn't at a point where I had fully found myself and figured out, what is V like, what is V not like, what is she like doing, what are her whatever, who is she, I wasn't at the point where I could answer all those questions, because I was still trying to get to know who I am. So right now it's a bit more difficult to get to that point, because now there's a human being that takes over your whole entire life, basically. So yeah, I think that's the advice that I would give. Yeah, just make sure you're also like financially stable, guys. Just make sure you have money, because kids are not cheap. They're not cheap. They're very expensive, and you don't want to find yourself doing the bare minimum for your child, because when you bring life into this world, you want to go all out. You want to be able to give this baby like everything, and that is going to be fulfilling to you as well. And when you are unable to give that child everything, it might even depress you, to be quite honest. So yeah, I think my advice, make sure you have ample support. Make sure that, and also make sure, guys, you need to like assess your partners before you have kids with them. You kind of need to like take note of everything. Hey, look at this person. Do you think this person will be a good father? How do they act around their families? How do they treat their families? How do they treat their extended families? What kind of a person is this? Like, look at all those things before like having a child with them, because I know a lot of people that are going through the most, because now they're not getting that support from their partners, and also maybe the partners just can't be good fathers, because maybe they're just not good people to other people. Your partner might be a great person to you, but how does he treat other people? I think that's very important, and that's another thing I still love about my partner, is that he treats people like, he puts people first. He's a very kind person. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but that's another point to my advice, is to say you need to be very like, don't be blinded by love. You need to be able to assess your partner and see can this person be a good father? Can this person support me and my family? Is this a responsible person? Can this person, how do they do with taking accountability within your everyday life without a child? Is this a person that can easily take accountability for their actions? Is the person who gives excuses? Is the person who's a narcissist? Is the person who manipulates? Because once a child comes into play, you will see. Oh, don't say I didn't tell you. You will be so much in love, and the person can just be like, you know what, deuces. And this happens quite a lot. So people just need to be careful, okay, I don't want this video to be long, so I'm just gonna end it here. If you want a part 2 and you have more questions, please do give more questions in the comment section, and let me know if you want a part 2. But for now, I am done. Cheers. Please subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching.